and welcome to my video review of the HighPoint Global U10L Bluetooth smartwatch. Now, just to give you an idea of what I know about smartwatches, I've owned 4 of them before this one, so I'm familiar with them. I own the original Pebble, which was, even now, I think you can't get it for under $100 or close. I own the new Pebble Time, which even in its non-steel version is $200. It's a nice watch, but it's $200. I love it for outside sunlight use. And I have currently the LG Urbane, which is an extremely nice Android Wear watch, but it's around $200 to $300, very expensive. Before that I had a Samsung watch, which was also nice, but also $200. So these are all watches that are running well over $100 compared to this watch. What's it cost? It costs about $50. What do you get for that? Well, you don't get as much as you get if you want to spend 2 to 4 to 6 times as much, but you wouldn't expect that. You do get quite a viable watch. I've used it for a number of days now. Here are my observations on it. First, battery life is around 24 hours. A little bit more, 26, 27, but roughly a day. Which means, if you couple on the fact that it charges quickly, you can wear it for a day, plug it in when you take your shower. By the time you get done and out, it's going to be charged. You can wear it for another day. That's really convenient. A lot of the other watches, you wear for the daylight time of the day. You charge them overnight. You put them back on for the daylight time. This you can actually wear for pretty much 24 hours. Charge up when you take a shower. That's a nice plus. Speaking of charging, another huge plus, this is a micro USB port. It's covered up with a little silicone cover so that you don't end up getting it, you can actually have a little bit of water resistance. Sorry, my fingernails are short, but you take that off, plug in a micro USB cable. Not a $20 to $40 proprietary charging device, a micro USB cable. You have those. It works in here. You've got them at work, you can get them for your car, you probably have them at home. So that's absolutely fantastic. You don't need to bring anything extra with you. You just need a micro USB cable, which you're undoubtedly going to use to charge most of your other devices. They won't charge the Apple devices, but even Apple people have Kindles and other things that use micro USB. So the fact this charges with micro USB is a huge, huge plus. The fact it lasts for a day is a huge, huge plus. Now, part of the reason it lasts for a day is the fact that you have to press this button on the side to activate it, and then after a few seconds, it'll turn dark. So you need to press the button to see the time. Otherwise, the display is off. That saves battery, lets it last for over a day, but it also means you're not going to have a constant display. So just be aware of that. It's, I think, a reasonable trade-off. It's not a big deal to press the button, but you do have to do that. It has a touchscreen, which right now it's connecting to my phone, so anyway, now that it's connected, as you can see, there are a number of different settings that you can go through. Now, I will tell you that these settings are maybe not, the use of them is not maybe the most intuitive in some of them. How you get into things, how you use things, it takes a while to get the hang of it. It's not super simple. It's not like a big company like Google or Apple has gone through these interfaces and made them super easy, but they are usable. They are easy to figure out, especially because I think the target audience of this is going to be honest, for the most part, kids or people wearing this in places where they don't care if they lose it. So the fact it's a little tough to figure out the interface is not a big deal, but it has a lot of features. Now, it's not a smartwatch in the sense that you don't load apps to it, which means you get what you get. But what do you get? You have the option of a couple of different displays. This is the digital display. There's a clock watch display that looks like an analog clock. I'm not going to put it on because it's going to take me too long to go through the settings, set it up, and show it to you. But you have the watch interface. You have a couple of other nice things. There's a compass on it that actually works. Now, it doesn't work perfectly, but it always points to roughly the same version of north, which in my experience is only a few degrees off the compass north I get with actual compasses, so it works pretty well. Is it going to get you out of the wilderness? No, but it's kind of nice having a compass. It's a feature that a lot of these don't have. You also have the option to find your phone. You press that. If your phone is far away, it will alert the phone. Now, to do that, you need a Bluetooth notifier app, which may or may not be easy for you to download. But if you get that, it will notify you. At the very least, even if you don't have an app, when your phone goes out of range, this will buzz. So you have this on your wrist, you walk away from your phone, you get a vibration, you know you left your phone. That might be worth the $50 right there. A couple other things, you could change the ringtones. You don't change anything all that wonderful. They all are kind of not great, but it has a ringtone, which means it has an actual speaker, which means when your phone rings, you hear it on your watch. A lot of my very expensive watches don't have speakers, so that's a nice thing. You can do a couple other settings. The other thing that I find that I like about this, 2 things. First, there's a pedometer, so if you don't have a nice watch that has a pedometer built in, this watch does actually a fairly accurate job of tracing your steps. It's not as perfect as something dedicated to it, but it seems to be within about 5%, which I think is really good enough. The other thing is it's got a sleep monitor. Now, you get sleep monitor apps for all the smartwatches, but most of them don't last long enough because you need to charge it at night to actually be able to use. This one, again, lasts that full 24 plus hours, which means you can put it on at night, activate the sleep timer, get an idea for how well you slept. Now, I compared this with a Fitbit one on the other wrist, so I expect the Fitbit to be fairly accurate. This gave me, within a few minutes, the same amount of active and restless sleep or whatever. So I would say that the sleep monitor in this works actually quite well. Is it accurate to the second? No, but it gives you a good indicator. So, you've got a lot of features. Oh, also, I can read my text messages. Theoretically, I can make phone calls with this, but I couldn't get it to pair with either an Android Fire phone or Nexus 6. It might pair with your phone. I don't know. But I do know that it did pair perfectly well in terms of getting messages. I can get messages, see them on here, no problems. So I've got a little device. Theoretically, I can make calls from it. I couldn't get that to work. For $50, I'm not all that shocked. But also I've got something that will last me 24 hours, which will let me read my text messages when I want, which has an alarm on it, which I can set independently. So I can actually use the speaker on this to wake myself up. I don't need to use my phone. So it's got a lot of independence that a lot of the other smartwatches don't have because they're really tied into being connected to your smartphone. This has the alarm features and all that built into it. If it were me and I were buying this watch, I think a good target demographic, well, there are a couple. First, kids. They want a smartwatch. All they need is a cheap, actually it will work by itself. You don't need to pair it with anything. If you do pair it with something, you just need a cheap Android phone of any kind. You can also pair it, I think, with iOS, although I haven't tested that, but definitely a cheap Android phone. These days, you can get them for under $50. Get something to pair it with, and you've got a phone and a watch, and you spend a total of $100. If you want to just get them the watch, though, you've got a watch, it's got alarms on it, it's got a sleep monitor on it, it's got a bunch of things that they can use, even if they don't use the smartwatch capability in terms of pairing with a phone. So, for kids, it's a nice watch. For $50, it does the job, and they'll be happy with it, especially if they're younger. Also, I can see it being useful for people that are either A, wanting a watch in places where a watch is going to get damaged. Look, if it gets damaged, it's $50. It's not quite like damaging a $300 watch. And on a $50 watch, you're going to be a little less worried about a couple of scratches. You'll keep using it, whereas on a very expensive watch, you'll be like, oh, it's ruined a scratch. Also, if you're going on vacation or something like that, and you want a watch, but you don't really care that it's not a high-end fashion watch, this has that micro USB charging. That means that you can actually charge it wherever you go. You don't need to bring anything with you. It's going to last you the full day. It's not connecting as much with your phone, so it's not going to drain the phone as much. It's very useful. So I like it in those cases. Inexpensive watch, does what it says it does, except in my case, does not connect to be able to make calls. Theoretically I can, but I can't get it to work with my phones. But I can get it to read text messages. I can get it to do all the other features that are in it. I took maybe a few minutes to figure out how the menus work. It's not necessarily as intuitive as I would like, but it's not difficult to figure out. Kids will have no problem with it. You probably won't either. And again, for under $50, I think it's a really nice watch. It's worthy of your consideration within that price range for those things that I talked about. For kids, for use in situations where you don't want to ruin a real watch, maybe for travel because of the US micro USB chargeability. Thank you. Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up in the park.